Hey everybody, it's me, JJ Panzer, your smart apartment advisor with the Real Management Company, back with another weekly client call. Have some interesting results and information to report. I had a client tell me that he was looking for some information about where rents have been and everything by neighborhood. And I thought about it and I said, well, I can certainly put that together. I don't have anything specifically pulled together, but I can make it happen. And so I'm almost ready to share everything with you, but I do have a couple of interesting things to share. So I'm going to do that today, give you some information about what we're seeing in terms of lease renewals so far. And then I'm going to flip it to Josh for some discussions about, do you have a deal of the day today? Is that what we're doing, Josh?
I do.
Yes. Okay, great. So we've got a deal of the day from Josh, and I hear it's in Albany, and I'll actually reference Albany in my remarks today. And then we don't have Denise today. She wasn't able to join us, but maybe we'll have some election news to share next Wednesday.
Maybe.
At least in terms of Prop 21. And that's it. So I'll open it up to everybody at that point. I'm going to mute everyone for now. And then I'm going to put some data up on the screen to show you. Oh, I've got a new person joining us. We put the results of my study of lease renewals on the screen. So what I have is the results of going back and looking at all the units that have had a new lease written this year with this existing tenant. And this is actually from April 1st to the current day. We've got 39 tenants contacted us asking for a new lease during this time period. And then I broke it down by neighborhood, and you can see some of the leases, some of the neighborhoods we have more units that have had renewals, but all of the renewals are negative. And the average is just under 12%. Reduction in rent based on those renewals. So you figure you're probably looking at, between $2,000 and $7,000 a month in rent. 12% is, between $200 and $700 or more. And the interesting thing, you look at Alamo Square, the average decrease on 3 units. This is all the tyranny of small numbers here, but those 3 units. Part of the reason why the rent decrease was so large in Alamo Square was that's 2 buildings, 3 units, both owners very much not wanting to have any vacancy time, and also having large units, 3 bedrooms and 4 bedroom units. So those units have definitely taken a beating as a result of this. But you can see every neighborhood has its negative. Alamo Square has the largest overall negative with those 3 units, and the smallest decrease is in the Sunset, and that mirrors what I've been seeing in home price data. The west side of the city is a little bit more stable. It's the rents are overall lower in the west side of town, and so there wasn't as much of a correction needed. If you take a look, a couple of them have around 8%. And 8.33% is what you get when you have 1 month's free rent as the deal. And the 1 month's free rent, we did 5 out of these 39 were 1 month free rent with a new 1-year lease deals. And interestingly, they all started in June and July, which means we negotiated them in April and May. And that was the end of that opportunity. That didn't happen anymore. Because as you can see, all of these tenants got more than 8.3% for the most part. And so, the general direction of this is, these are all tenants who were looking for a deal because they had signed their leases relatively soon. I think the 5 tenants who got that, 3 months rent deal probably regretted it a few months later, but they made the deal, and, we'll see where we are next year when it's time to discuss this again. But it's an interesting conversation to say, what is a 12% rent decrease worth to you if you can avoid having a vacancy? And so I'm going to use this moving forward to frame the discussion. I mean, you look at the neighborhoods that I would have expected to have, larger decreases based on rents that I'm seeing. North Beach and Nob Hill, pretty much that is echoed in the renewals as well as in the new leases. You'll notice, Bert, that South of Market's not on there because nobody in South of Market even approached us for a renewal. They all just left. And that's something that I can use as a pivot and actually switch over to. Now, I haven't finished this analysis, so I'm going to give you sort of preliminary information and then give you a little bit more detailed vacancy summary information when we have a chance and I can really dig into this. But what I did with this one is I looked at all move-outs that occurred between April 1st and the end of October, and all move-ins that occurred during the same period of time. And then I had to sort of back out a little bit, because if I had a move-out that occurred or a move-in that occurred very early in the process, the first couple of weeks of April or something, the move-out date was in the first quarter of the year, so I had to add that unit back into it. Go do a little bit more information, but the interesting detail here is that 112 units out of our 600 unit portfolio. So, what is a sixth is like 20%, 18% of our overall portfolio vacated during that time. And only 43 units, 38% of those vacancies have been re-rented at this time. And so we've got some really long vacancies that remain, including I've got 7 units out of 20 in a 20-unit building in the Tenderloin that has had no action whatsoever for months and months and months. Other units are vacant for a variety of different reasons. We've got units that are vacant because they need renovations and owners are crunched for cash. I have clients who are doing longer renovations, and some of the lengthier vacancies include significant renovation time based on my recommendations to use this time where units are going to be empty anyway to make your unit more competitive. But the interesting thing is the average rent decrease is only $100 year over year. Now that's also the tyranny of small numbers, because you've got a lot of units where the tenants are moving out after lengthy tenancies of several years, and actually are some increases. So we've got a few tenants, including one. We've got a unit that rent went up by $2,000 a month because it had been a very long tenancy. And we've got the maximum decrease is $800 for a unit that is in North Beach that was vacant for a very long time. And the average vacancy time is about 70 days. And that doesn't count. I hadn't finished the analysis when I tabulated this, but that doesn't count the units that remain vacant right now. So for the 43 units that did get rented, we had them vacant for 2.5 months almost. So I haven't even finished. You can see I didn't finish writing that sentence. Including units that remain vacant, I was going to give a number of how long those units have been vacant and what that amounts to. In 2019, we had 57 move-outs in the same period of time, compared to 112 this year. So we've got double the number of vacancies, and the rents are going down for anybody who's basically been there for, probably between a year and 3 years. Rents are going down, and if anybody was living there for more than 3 years and they vacated and we're managing to re-rent it, the rents are going up. So overall, you look at the numbers so far, they don't look as bad as I would have thought they were. But I have to dig into it some more on that analysis and give you a little bit more detail on that. But I'm happy to open it up if anybody has specific questions about what I found or suggestions for directions you'd like me to take the analysis for the next phase. I'd be happy to discuss that. So you can unmute yourself and jump in, or raise your hand on video and let me know if you got a question. And If not, I'll be happy to introduce Josh for his presentation. Josh, are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
Um,
Take it away.
quick question for you. So those are all people who approached you for reductions, and then you framed it as just writing up a new lease.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you didn't keep them, you didn't adjust anybody who was month to month and kept that and gave them a reduction and kept them month to month.
Well, the lease term has also been fluid as a term of that renegotiation over the last 6 months or so. In the beginning, we were asking for that 1 year, and we were more likely to get it in the spring and the early summer. And then when summer rolled around, tenants started saying, yeah, I want the reduction and I won't even give you a year. And we refused to give the reduction under almost every circumstance, unless the tenant gave us some sort of a commitment to stay for an extended period of time. And we did a bunch of 9-month leases and a bunch of 6-month leases. And the 9s and the sixes tended to come later in the year. The 9s were a little earlier in the year. And basically, we were willing to make that accommodation based on the fact that a 9-month lease that was signed, 2 or 3 months ago is going to get us through the holidays and into the spring of next year. And hopefully things will be a little bit better by then. And the 6-month leases are ones that we're doing, the last 30 to 60 days for the most part. But I wouldn't have wanted to do a 6-month lease in July and had the tenant expiring at the end of December. That wouldn't have made any sense. So,
okay.
Bert, go ahead and unmute yourself, and then
There we go. For what it's worth, since you don't have a SOLA number, and as you know, one of my units did get rented. And if I compare the new contract with the old contract, it's about 8.5% less.
Right. And that's, and we were vacant for how many months?
A lot.
I mean,
Over 6.
Yeah. And so that's going to be a part of what I use in my analysis the next way around. I'm going to sort of incorporate the vacancy time into that analysis, and then I'll try to do a similar analysis for last year just as a comparison, because I think that would be the best way to get as much information as possible about vacancy time and stuff like that. But the vacancy time is going to be hard to really reconcile when you consider that a lot of what we're doing is also related to having units off the market for renovations. So I'm going to go back and dig into like on market date as opposed to the vacancy date, which is what I'm using right now. So we'll talk about all of that, and I'll try to get a little bit more detail for you next week. So anyway, Josh, go ahead.
Right on. Could I have screen share activated?
Oh, yes. Screen share activated. Go for it. Oh, and before you get started, I do want to also mention Albany. We had a couple of units that turned over in Albany, and they rented fairly quickly at comparable rents to what we had before, and those were short tenancies. It's not a rent controlled jurisdiction, so the rents were presumably at market there, and they did pretty well. So we didn't lose much, and we rented them pretty quickly. So it supports the thought that the outlying areas seem to be doing better in this market.
Right. So so this is an 8-unit building in Albany, and yes, I'm piggybacking on that experience of renting those 2 units quickly. The demand was strong. So Albany, anybody doesn't know, right on the edge of, right outside of Berkeley, tucked between Berkeley and El Cerrito, a little bit south of Berkeley. Great schools, nice downtown area, kind of on the rise. It's a town that I think is an excellent rental community. No rent control, so you're capped by statewide rent control, which is 5%. But other than that, you have the freedom to raise your rents, which is 5% is good. You can get to kind of where you need to go. It's a 1960s, 65 building. You don't get a lot, there's not very many multi-unit buildings in Albany. These are all 2-bedroom units, close to 700 square feet. So I'll just kind of quickly go through. This is just a nice example of a building that is very easy to kind of own, manage, and improve. So you have these pretty standard layouts, and tuck under parking, laundry on site, walking distance to BART, downtown areas, and shopping. What I'm seeing in Albany is you're attracting more higher income folks into the community. So it's a little cheaper than Berkeley, but still, but it's not. But you still find folks that are kind of professional class with some money, who go out, walk, and go out to dinner and those things. You can kind of attract that group of folks. So these units in particular, I'll show. So the building's priced at $2.5 million. Price per unit is $312,000, which is great. Again, very straightforward. The cap rate is low. I actually think there's probably some room on price here. The cap rate is 3.7, which I've been saying don't buy anything under a 5 cap. But with no rent control, there's room to get those rents up pretty quickly. This to me is a classic kind of long-term hold. This is not in particular a COVID play, but this is just a great kind of steady Eddie building to own for 10 plus years. Moving through here, I'm not going to get into all the details here, but again, it just has. I'm just finding that I'm wanting more and more buildings that kind of have everything. So parking, laundry, straightforward, easy to renovate, relatively newly built in the last. I try not to buy 1950 and beyond is what I'm kind of looking at to buy as far as construction. 95 walk score, so close to BART, close to shopping, all these things. So you move through here really quickly, just show some of the features, kind of maximizes its lot here. And so these units right now they look like old dentist offices that we've probably been to in our lives. They're not terribly
Sounds like an old dentist song.
Right? Some guy comes out with a old coat on and, hey, come here, and gives you a lollipop, that kind of
Sugar-free lollipop.
Right. No, my dentist used to give sugar lollipops. It's very odd.
They wanted more business. It's business development, right?
Right, exactly. So, with kitchens, so what I like about these kind of units is that, your floor plan is usually excellent, right? So you have a nice open space, you have a kind of open concept kitchen into living room. These cabinets can be swapped out easy, countertops swapped out easy, all your appliances. Those windows can be upgraded, fiberglass or vinyl. Nice big windows. Moving through here, very basic, decent carpet. You can throw hardwood in these units. You can really turn this, for whatever it's lacking right now, you can really, wall heaters, which are fine for this size of a unit. You could really turn this unit into more of a high-end unit if you wanted to, and I think the rents are justified when you start moving up. You can attract families. They're 2-bedroom units. The schools in Albany are excellent. So this is, not terribly exciting photos, but you get the drift. It's just there's just not many of these. And El Cerrito is another community that I've helped clients buy into that I like as well. El Cerrito has kind of been hurt more by the pandemic. in terms of it lost its the UC Berkeley population. You had all these students that were kind of looking for cheaper rent. You lost that, and so it's hurting more. But in Albany, you're maintaining a nice professional class of renters, and so those rents are kind of staying up. And it's just one of these cities that's very much been on my radar for a number of years, and I continue to see it improve and grow. I was watching the San Francisco market as well this week. I thought I'd see a deal that I liked a lot in San Francisco. I didn't. What I did find was they're up to 92 units. Every time I check San Francisco listings, 5+ unit buildings, the count goes up. And so inventory is just continuing to spike, meaning buildings just aren't really changing hands very much right now. And so there's going to, again, you just have to wait. There's going to be nice opportunities. I've shown a few, and there's going to continue to be more. The election, I'm sure, like right now, everyone's probably just sitting on their hands waiting for this election to pass to see how that kind of affects things. But it's interesting in that the buildings really aren't moving in San Francisco right now. Here's the rents. He's the agent is putting these at market rent at $23.95, which I think is fair. But I think, over the years, once you improve these units, you can kind of get those numbers up. So all these numbers here, the ability to go from $14,858 per month up to this $17,000 number is pretty straightforward. I mean, that's your security deposits, but up to $23.95 per unit, whatever that comes out to for 8 units, is a pretty straight line. And again, this is more of a deal that's accessible, easy, long-term, nice hold, and I just wanted to share with the group. So
yeah, your pro forma rent on that is just over 19,000. $23.95 times 8 units. And what do you figure the renovation cost is for one of those units? Each time you turn one over, what is it going to cost you to fix it up and make it worth $2,400?
Yeah, so I mean, you're going to do kitchen, bath. You could probably get out of those, depending on what you do. I mean, if you do windows, you're close to 50.
Yeah.
To renovate those units, and I definitely think it's justified. You have a lot of balconies too, so yeah, 50,000 on your turns is what I'd anticipate doing.
Yeah. But you can phase that in slowly over time,
right?
And if you can buy it affordably and get it, you have to negotiate that deal to get the price you're looking for to get close to 5 cap. But yeah, it's certainly reasonable.
Right. Yeah. So I try to get that sale price down, but like this is, Albany is just one of these places that just doesn't have all the thorns of rent control laws of a Berkeley and a San Francisco and an Oakland. So, this is a place that offers a little relief from all of that and provides a little more straightforward investing, So.
Well, cool. That sounds like a good one. Any thoughts or questions, comments from the group? If not, I will follow up with more information with my rent survey and give you a little more detail next week when we meet, and then I'll be ready to release something that gives some more details. But it's good seeing everybody. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next week. And Denise will be with us next week as well to go over some of the legal details also. So thank you very much. Take care.
Everybody.
Bye.